So at Mantality, we're obviously massive advocates for positive mental health, and a question I want to pose to Ben is, how does sleep affect all the hormones which actually interact with whether you have a good day, whether you have a bad day, and the whole range of mental health that can happen?
I think what we do know about mental health is that a lot of mental health illnesses are caused by hormonal imbalances. Some of them hormones.
Do you want me to grab that thing that you prepared?
Yeah.
Which is a fantastic little diagram that Ben actually prepared for us before he came to today. That's
well, I didn't, but
talk us through this, Ben. What have you got for us?
So, this is something that they've asked me to prepare in the last 5 minutes, so I do apologise for how scruffy it is. The mechanical processes and physiological processes that occur when you're asleep aren't completely understood. That's important to kind of get out there. Similar to those that, like in terms of how hormones are, why we might have hormone imbalances. This is something that's not been. It's an ongoing kind of research in the kind of medical world. But what we do kind of know from the research that's out there at the moment is that in an ideal world, there's hormones that wake you up, and there's hormones that put you to sleep. So we know that we have rhythms throughout the day. They're affected mainly by light and your body's internal clock. We work at this in society. We work at, around this kind of 9 to 5 clock that we've come up with, but our body has our own internal clock that is our own internal alarm really, and our switch off. And so what we believe happens at the moment is that our stress hormone peaks in the morning. And throughout the day, kind of it dips. So ideally, it dipped to the point where it became that low that it's still obviously there's a degree of stress that we're going through, but it needs to dip to the point where we can switch off, and other hormones that relax us need to peak.
So in the perfect world,
that'd
fade out all the way down.
In the perfect world, it'd fade out and peak, and then the reverse would occur in the morning. But in actual fact, there's probably very few people on this planet who follow that kind of linear kind of process. Just given the society and that we live in, and the fact that we all need to get up and earn money. So what issues can occur, particularly with tiredness and how fresh you are in the day, when these kind of this pathway, if you like, gets disrupted for whatever reason. So if you have more stress hormone at night, that might give you an issue that might cause issues in terms of you getting to sleep. You might take you ages to switch off. That's how that would be a kind of a practical.
So that's high cortisol and that's low serotonin, melatonin.
I'm glad you've learned. So obviously you're not aware of these hormonal processes, but how we interpret these is stress and how we feel relaxed and we can switch off and we're not thinking. A lot of people are thinkers. I'm a thinker. I've kind of learnt to kind of switch off in the evening, or I'd be thinking all night, and I'd be up and down when I go to bed,
Yeah. So that's a perfect world, isn't it? That's a perfect diagram. Do you like that? Do you like that? That's a perfect world, isn't it? Where you've got your cortisol, which wakes you up, fades out during the day, for melatonin and serotonin to take over. That's what we want, isn't it?
But what you got to think is, I'll just interrupt you there.
Go on.
As a rugby player, stress can be caused psychologically or physically. So pain will increase your stress levels. Something about if you think with you boys, we obviously we play 8 o'clock fixtures, evening fixtures. You might be out there till 9:30 onwards. At which point you come back in, you're still buzzing, you're still ready to go, or not ready to go, but you're in a lot of pain. You've only just come off the field. So the process from then on, obviously these are highly disrupted. So that's a factor that's always going to be there. It's an entertainment-based sport, it's always going to be there. But how we manage that in terms of the next turnaround and how long we've got to manage that, and with different days in between, what we do is of massive interest to me, because we don't know. And that's why I looked into it for such a long period. So
I'm gonna ask you a question now.
Yeah.
You've got your defence on that you don't want to say that you can help people. You can, in fact, help people by recommending. So if they're feeling too stressed, if their cortisol hormone's too high, so put it in my scenario. If I've trained, I do a training session or whatever, and I've come up, this might be 1 p.m.
Yeah.
I might be stewing over that training session all day. Someone might be walking around an office all day stewing about a conversation they've had. What do you recommend? I know you touched a lot with me upon mindfulness. Talked about all that stuff. On a hormonal level, what is mindfulness doing? And just your personal point of view, what does it do?
So my personal point of view is that in terms of the hormonal effects of exercise are massive. I'm a massive advocate of exercise. I'm a physio by trade. I need to be. But the hormonal effects of exercise are massive. With athletes, you're gonna train. You train when you want to. You train when you don't want to. So it's the gap there for me was, as a physio, we can't say go away and do more away, because that kind of impacts the schedule is already set out, and that is what it is. But what we can do is have kind of mental recovery strategies that in turn will hopefully, we can't measure these, but will hopefully have an influence on how well you can de-stress yourself. And the players will have their own individual stuff, but you will the people that know that is yourself. So if we were talking about the general population, things are no different. Things like the meditation stuff. Me and yourself went to that Wim Hof performance conference, which was brilliant. Came away, we had a bit of a drive down there. Got there, felt like we'd done. I'd been driving for 2 days, but then we went through this kind of process of meditation, and it reinvigorated us to the point where we felt like we could start the day again.
What's the? I'm not going to ask you just on terms of Wim Hof. That was brilliant, and Wim talks about all the scientific studies behind that and what it can do to the body. Hormonal wise, if we say in practice of meditation, do we know that can increase the kind of relaxed hormones?
So we can't, unless you did looked at blood markers and stuff like that, and went really kind of laboratory based assessments. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is getting in a state of mind where you can just de-stress yourself. This isn't a measured thing. This isn't something you can measure. We can measure sleep now because we've got the actigraphy devices. We've got the devices you've been wearing, so we can measure that. But in terms of recovery prevention, I think I tweeted about this the other day. We can't measure success of recovery prevention. We can't measure it. We just need to do as much as we can. So how that might help people in society is they just need to find something, whether that might be exercise in the general public, that might be listening to a meditation video on YouTube, or might be going to yoga, it might be cooking, it might be whatever, but something that de-stresses them, the system, before they're going to the evening. I would hypothesize that it would have a positive effect on the sleep, going to bed less stressed, and not stressing. What you shouldn't do is go to bed and think, I really need to sleep, That's not what this is about. You should go to bed and be relaxed and not focus on sleep. If you focus on something, you're overthinking it.
What are your main tips for sleep? What would you recommend to the everyday guy working 9 to 5, but also to athletes as well?
So as soon as you leave your working environment, your training environment, you're a normal guy, right? Ish.
Some would say I'm not normal. Some would say I'm normal.
But typically, when you go to bed, what room do you go in before you go to bed?
Living room to bedroom, innit?
Well, hopefully you got your bathroom or brush your teeth.
I only do that in the morning.
Right, well, hopefully you got, but your bathroom, bathroom's often the brightest room in your house. So, melatonin is a hormone that's said to be affected by light. And yet the last room we're going to before bed, or in the middle of the night, is a bathroom. So, if you could maybe brush your teeth after your last meal, if you brush your teeth.
I swear I brush my teeth.
Yeah. So that's one thing. Try and avoid really bright lights.
Living room to bedroom, sloth.
Try and avoid real bright lights. You don't want to be sleeping in a real too hot environment or too cold environment. Cool is optimal, really. Heat speeds up your heart rate, so that puts more stress on you kind of.
Cold shower.
Cold shower is fantastic. For similar reasons, it reduces the stress that heat puts on your body. So a cold shower, cold bath, but not approaching that stressful. That's quite difficult and aggressive. Takes a lot of practice to get good at that. But if you can have a cold shower or a cold bath, even better, ice cold bath, that'd be great. Avoiding going on your phone.
Yeah.
In your bedroom, it's quite difficult because people set an alarm and stuff, and we spoke about that 9 to 5 clock. So setting that alarm early so you don't have to think about it before you go to bed. Just simple things like that, and then and doing things, maybe having 10 minutes reading. Some people don't consider themselves readers, but
just to switch off, innit?
Just finding that switch off.
Yeah,
you might be listening to music or Yeah.
Very good, very good. Is there anything else that you've found to be very useful? So we've got the kind of the bare bones of it is sleep, how that can affect the performance of an athlete, but also when we're not playing, when we're needed to feel better, how those hormones can actually have a balance and affect us mentally. Mindfulness, you spoke about that, different methods of that, whether that might be meditation, that might be a certain method of training for someone who doesn't do it as much, try and get in that flow state. And also the Wim Hof method, we've mentioned that, and I'm a big advocate of what Wim does. It's brilliant. Anything else which you can think of in your experience as a physio, which helps with recovery, which helps with state of mind and what people can go out and do?
I think what's important to know is that I'm not going to sit here and tell people they should go out and meditate or should go out and do yoga. All the exercises is fantastic, and I do encourage you to do that. It's about finding what they like. We've got a few people at the club who you're friends with who like drawing pictures, which is great, and that's his kind of way to kind of de-stress and switch off. Just finding particularly for elite athletes, finding a hobby that's different to the profession can really, really help them. We've got a couple of barbers at the club now. So I think
quite meditative,
I think they get peppered, don't they, by out boys? So I'm not sure if it's
Baldy's actually said that he's got too many asking him.
Yeah.
That. Can you remember?
But I think that was positive.
It's positive, innit?
He needs to take that as a
Careful what you wish for, innit?
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just finding something, and it doesn't have to be a hobby like becoming a barber, but just start finding something maybe a bit different, and trying something a bit different that's outside the typical realms of recovery in terms of no one really likes going for a stretch in a pool. It's not something that
invigorates.
No,
is it really?
It's not all. So just finding something that helps that kind of internal recovery, I think. Just needs to be educated that people can do that and kind of be empowered to do that, rather than thinking, right, I've done my recovery and that's it.
That's certainly what I found on this kind of this learning curve I've been on for the last 2 years. To try and take action. That was a big message that the podcast we got with Wim. To take action, to go and find out what you can do, to better yourself, empower yourself, and once you find them routines, them grooves to get yourself in, it's a lot easier to navigate in what you do day to day. So thanks for coming on, my old mate.
No, it's a pleasure.
Let's go for a feed now.
It's been a bit longer than a fair few outtakes, more than an interview, but
I need the outtakes.
I need that 5 guy who's going to get me to sleep tonight. So
where can we find you?
It's been a pleasure, and
where can we find you?
I think it's fantastic what you guys at Mantality are doing. So and Don behind the camera. So
peace.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Class. Sweet brother. And tell the people, don't smile at me. Don't smile at me.
Stop. You're like a rapper. Yeah, obviously. You started laughing at me. Yeah, so working with a sport, you know.
Oh, now you. See, that was you, that.
At Leeds, collected all the data and stuff about your sleep levels. What should we do? Should we carry on?
What am I even laughing at?